Hi everyone, this is that walkabout I promised you. So a quick tour of the garden. There you go. Now I'm going to go through all the plants for you so you can see what we got. All right, so getting back to these containers. I've made these containers because my dog, Yogi, I used to have Green Island ficus planted there, and he would sit down and just gnaw at them and make his own little den. So I decided, you know what? I'm tired of having holes and missing bushes, so I've made these containers and fill them in. Right now they have Lantana. So let's see. It's my Lantana. And next to it we have macho fern, which get really huge. And at this point we have no gutters, as you can see. And so what happens is when the rain comes, they land right on top of the macho ferns and they push it down. So we're in the process of getting gutters now. And here we have a little seating area. This plant right here is called Panama Rose. It blooms pink, but right now it doesn't have any blooms on it. So I have to actually trim it up a bit and see if I can get that to bloom again. Over here, I have a little penta in that little pot. I've got New Guinean patience in the blue pot, which is starting to bloom again. So they give off big orange blooms. I love it. I've got golden dewdrop, which is a huge pollinator plant. The butterflies and the bees come here all the time. It's in a standard form, so it's like a topiary style. And I have it underplanted with pentas right underneath. So when these bloom, they'll give out some beautiful purple flowers. Next to it, I've got a funny story. I've got some more Alocasia, California Alocasia, and right below I have artillery fern. And artillery fern is super easy to propagate. And I'll show you how to do that after. But actually, it's called artillery fern, but it's not really a fern. Because ferns have underneath, they have the spores, and this one doesn't have spores underneath. It actually flowers, but you really cannot see it flower. But this Alocasia, I actually took out from underneath the mango tree. And it ended up having some roots, so I just potted it up, and it's alive. And what's happened here, I've just filled it all up with California Alocasia, and I've got some macho ferns in between, and I have a pot of artillery fern right up front. And I've done this because my dog, I'm telling you, everything I've done in this yard is because of my lab. He had a tendency of running through the plants and creating holes. So what I learned after trying a lot of different types of plants is the only thing that would really work for large dogs is things that have flow and movement. So ferns and things, and like the Alocasia, things that he can run through and not break. It'll just go with it. It'll just go with the flow. But what I've also done is that since I planted the macho ferns in between, he no longer goes and has like a shortcut to the back of the fence. I've made a brick pathway right underneath here. I'm not sure if you can see it right down there, there's some pavers, and it goes all the way around the back of the fence so you can say hi to the neighbor dogs and not run through the fence. Back here, I have a bougainvillea in a pot, which eventually is gonna have to go because that pot is so old that it is falling apart. So once that pot starts to fall apart more, that plant's a goner. And around the fence line, I have planted the Alocasia hedge, which is starting to grow. It's been in for about a year now. And you think it would have grown more, except no, it hasn't. That little section between the trees has not grown very well. I'm only assuming it's not because of the sun, because I dropped down the shade cloth and trimmed the trees more, and it only grew a little bit. So I'm thinking that because the roots of these trees are so like webbed, when they planted these, I didn't plant them. When I had somebody plant them, they kind of smushed the roots down, like really stepped on them down, and that may have stunted them a bit. They are growing, but at a much slower pace than, let's say, the ones over here that don't have the trees next to it. So that's one thing to keep an eye out. When you want to plant something next to trees, make sure that who's ever planting it is not smushing the roots down just to get it into the ground. Anyways, I have a shrimp plant right in there, another pot of artillery fern, and these are just macho ferns that I've planted here. So my dogs, they'll just run through and do their business, and it'll be perfect. And what I have here are 4 ligustrum trees, which I absolutely love. It gives me the perfect amount of shade. Nothing over the pool, but it lands, I have it cut so it cuts off directly over the pavement. And I love it. My dogs love it. They have shade there whenever they want, all day long. So the areas in my yard, there's only certain areas that get sun. The other parts stay shaded. So that is really nice in South Florida. And this little nook that I have, oh, I love it. We use it all the time. Breakfast, lunch, after work. We just sit here. It's gorgeous. Now I flip back. Now these leaves, they're gonna continue falling from the mango tree, which is right up there. That's the mango tree. Over here, I've got a little bench, little nook, and I've got some pots here. These 2 pots on either side of the bench are planted with the same thing. And that is Alba begonia. And now these pots are in the sun. The sun it hits it here all day long. Well, mostly in the afternoon. Like it gets the real hot sun. And I really don't water these. It gets everything it needs. So I have Alba begonia, the wandering Jew, the purple ones, which you've seen me put in other pots. And I've got another fern, a Boston fern, just stuck in. This pot is flax lily. And then right up here, I've got the powder puff tree, and I put it in a pot. I know that's not gonna get super tall, and that's perfectly fine with me. I just want these branches to branch out and add a little bit more additional shade for this area. But it is about getting ready to bloom. So I am really excited about that. Right over here, I go this way. This, by the way, that orange bucket is my catch-all for water that lands off the roof. So I use the rainwater there to water my plants. At least some of them, the ones that really need the natural water. I also have a pot here of another another Alocasia, and that is my dog Cheeky, who loves to bark at nothing. There she is. She likes to bark at nothing, but she barks. my Cheeky. Right here I have Texas sage, and this Texas sage is getting ready to bloom. You can see all of the buds on this plant. It's just getting ready to burst. Oh, look at this one. It's already starting. I have a firecracker plant right here. I've got 2 little boxwoods, which I was gonna make little topiaries out of. I trimmed them up, but it turns out I left town for like 5 days and left them in the sun thinking that it was gonna rain over the weekend, and I don't think it rained as much as I thought it would. So this one is turning a little bit yellow, and that one's doing pretty nice. It's still green. So I watered it and I've stuck them in the shade here just to see if I could revive them a bit before I stick them into a container. Now this is my catch-all area. I've got some pentas here. I guess I have two things of pentas. This is a mango tree. This mango landed from last season. I was picking out weeds and I found it growing thinking it was a weed, and I plucked it and I'm like, oh, it's attached to the seed. So I planted it. It's grown quite a bit, so I'm hoping that next season I can graft it, and we'll see if I can get some mangoes out of that one. Got some caladiums, miscellaneous plants. I have another bougainvillea there. This is my other little corner. I've got a Mandevilla vine that I put a little trellis to, and I attached a little something over the wood fence to see if I can have it climb. And then what I'm gonna do with this is hopefully have it go all the way over to this side and have a wall of Mandevilla. I've got another Lantana, and this one is the same as the one in the pots. I have it in a standard form. And I've got artillery fern underneath. And who does not have a rosemary plant from Costco? I just let it grow wild. I did not bother keeping the shape of it. My favorite thing to do is every time I come to the garden, I pass my fingers through it, and that smell is amazing. Wow. I've got also, let's see, a podocarpus hedge up on this side. And this is my spider plant. It's ready to cut and propagate. So I just trim these up and stick them into the soil, and I'll get a new plant, which is what I've done to these two. That's how I got those. I propagated them and I stuck them in, and now they're giving me more babies. So I have to start handing them out to friends. Over here, I've got a Crape Myrtle surrounded by pentas. And these pentas, they're about ready to get cut down a little bit because they're growing too much into the Crape Myrtle. And I'd like a little bit more airflow in between that plant. But look at all of these beautiful buds. Look at that. It's gorgeous. The way they just bloom. It is amazing. I love it. Another little seating area. This is my Gardenia, which is doing quite well. And I noticed that in all my pots, and I'll show you when I pot them up, I always put mulch at the bottom. It keeps the weeds away, it keeps the moisture in, and doesn't let it overheat and dry out fast. So that's what I do to all my pots. So here's the other Colusia hedge on this side. Got another bougainvillea right here. And of course, you see my weeds, which I have to pick. And what I do is I'll go by hand and I'll take them out. I won't spray this because I have dogs and I just don't want them licking things up or eating the grass. So I'll do that by hand. But that's about it. That's my garden. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.